Please. Guru Prasadana ஆரம்பிக்கலாமா? विदिताखिल शास्त्र सुधा जलधे महितोपनिषद कथितार्थ निधे हृदये
शरणं
भवता जनता सुहिता भविता निजबोध विचारण चारुमते कलयेश्वर जीव विवेक विदं भव शंकर देशिक मे शरणम्
भव एव भवानिति मे नितरां समजायत चेतसि कौतुकिता मम वारय मोहमहारिं भव शङ्कर देशिक मे शरणम्
सुकृते धिकृते बहुधा भवतो भविता समदर्शन लालसता
गतिमवितुं कलिता कृतयो विचरन्ति महामहसचलतः अहिमां सुरिवात्र विभासि गुरो भव शङ्कर देशिक मे शरणम्
गुरुपुङ्गव पुङ्गव केतनते समतामयतां न हि कोऽपि सुधीः शरणागत वत्सल तत्त्वनिधे भव शङ्कर देशिक मे शरणम्. So with that note, we are ready to move to the next stage of the program. I call upon Shri Krishnan sir deliver the welcome address. I would like to remind everyone that this program is being organized as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the 75th year celebration of India's independence. It's a great occasion which is being celebrated in pomp and splendor throughout the country. And Sri Vidyatheertha Foundation also takes great pride in participating in such a great event. So Krishnan sir, over to you.
Sruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram. Sada Abhinavaguruvantam Vidyatheertha Guruvaje Bharati Karuna Patram Bharati Padabhushanam Bharati Padamarudam Bharati Deettamashraye Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vinde Vedanta Tattvagyam Vidushekara Bharati. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Our Shashtanga Namaskarams to revered Swamiji, our Platinum Jubilee, 75 years of India's independence. We have planned to have independence in the year 1947, and many men and women have sacrificed for the cause of our liberation, cause of getting freedom from foreign rule. But there are many others much before who have saved our country and who have integrated our country. And he was somebody who has, from his young age, dedicated himself to the cause of this country and through this country. So if Adishankara has not done what he has done 1200 years ago, it's highly doubtful whether we will be all be sitting together like this today. There were 72 different forms of cults, and Adishankara, just by reasoning, just by logic, met all of them and exchanged views, listened to them, and enlightened them with knowledge, the true essence of Shastras, Upanishads, and brought light to their life, only with an intention of helping everybody. His intention was to help everybody and thereby integrate this country and also provide for continuous existence. There are many sages and sages after the life of Adishankara, like Swami Vidyatheertha, have done so much to our country. Vidyatheertha is the founder of Vidyatheertha Empire. So, which prevented invasion in the southern part of our country in those 600 years back. So, like that, there are many sages that contributed to the welfare of our country. So, on the occasion of independence, we should also think about them, know about them, read about them, and submit our respectful pranams to them. So, today we have with us Swami Atmapriyananda ji. I was fortunate enough to listen to his talk at Sringeri in the year 2020, when there was a seminar organized by the Swamiji of KR Mutt, the blessings of Jagadgurus of Sringeri Sharada Peetham. And I was also fortunate to be enough to be invited. And there I had the opportunity to meet Swamiji personally. And Swamiji's devotion towards Adishankara. And it is a great treat to listen to Swamiji's discourse. And immediately that year when Purana struck the world, we are all tied down inside our home. And we organized a 48 days program to celebrate Sri Shankara Jayanti. And on the 47th day, workshop at Sringeri is being organized on the topic Sri Adishankara and Ancient Wisdom. So the 4-day workshop, I invited Swamiji to come to Sringeri, and His Holiness Jagadguru Sri Sanidhanam was also keen that Swamiji should participate in the workshop. Swamiji expressed his inability because of his age, and His Holiness directed me in response to Swamiji's suggestion that we should have an online session even before the workshop, so that all of us get enlightened about the greatness of Sri Adishankara. Swamiji has been the first Vice-Chancellor of the universities founded by Sri Ramakrishna Order, has been connected with the university for several decades. He has toured many parts of the world carrying the message of Sri Shankara and helping people to understand the Vedic philosophy, thereby utilizing the human birth and ultimately reaching the goal of human life. So it's our good fortune that Swami Atmapriyananda Maharaj accepted our invitation to be with us. With these few words, with folded hands, I welcome Swamiji on behalf of all of you and look forward to his discourse. Namaskar.
Om Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tamhadevam Atma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshurvai Sharanamaham Prapadye Nishkalam Nishkriyam Shantam Niravadyam Niranjanam Rudrayatte Dakshinam Mukham Tena Mam Pahi Nityam Om Shanti 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 Om Shakti Samudra Samutsatarangam Darishita Prema Vijrumbhitarangam Samshaya Rakshasanasha Mahastram Projvala Bhakti Patavrita Vrittam Karma Kalevara Madbhuta Cheshtam Yami Gurum Sharanam Himalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram. Bhagavan Adishankara, whom Swami Vivekananda called the wonder boy from Kerala, was an extraordinary phenomenon projected by the divine supreme being for the resuscitation of Sanatana Dharma, without which India, Bharat Bhumi, could not have been saved. The spirituality of the Bharat would be completely destroyed. If that happened, the whole world will perish. Because the spirituality of the Bharatvarsha, the Sanatana Dharma, is holding the religion. As you know, it comes from the dhru dhatu. Dhru means to hold. And the modern word for this, well known, is to sustain. Sustainability is the buzzword now. And dharma, therefore, Purva Mimamsa philosophy, the oblation that you pour in the fire as a symbol of the sacrifice, swaha, swaha, swaha means I sacrifice, I give up. I do not live for myself, I live for the entire universe of living and non-living beings. So the principle of sacrifice is fundamental to the sustainability of the whole universe. And this principle of sustainability, jnana, yajna, is the principle with which the entire creation began. And the Supreme Being, Swayambhu, Prajapati, created the beings along with the sacrifice, principle of sacrifice. And you said this principle of sacrifice will sustain you and make you grow. And this will be the principle which will bestow upon you all the blessings of life. I am quoting from the Bhagavad Gita, the 3rd chapter. Sahayajna prajasrishtva puro vacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadvam eshavostishta kamadhuk. The Prajapati, the Supreme Being, the Creator, the beginning of creation, he projected the entire universe of beings with the command, I shall command you to take up the idea of sacrifice, yajna, and I am projecting all of you along with yajna, and hold on to this yajna, anena prasavishyadvam, make it grow, because this is the principle of yajna or sacrifice that will sustain you and give you all the blessings like the Kamadhenu. Yajna expresses itself as dana, charity, giving. And yajna and dana should be practiced with tremendous intensity of purpose. This intensity is called tapas. And therefore, Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the last chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he raises the question whether all karma should be given up. Some people say all karma should be given up, and some others say all karma except yajna dana tapas should be given up. Then he says, I am going to your opinion. Yajna dana tapak karma natyajyam karyameva tat. Yajna, dana and tapas should not be given up. They are karyam, they have to be performed. Why? As all of us know, by Gopalanandana, keeping the Partha, Arjuna as the Vatsa, as the Nimitta, through which the entire universe is being taught by the Jagat Guru Sri Krishna. That is the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvo Upanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. So Yajnadana Tapas is once again derived from the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, where Yajnavalkya says Yajnena Danena Tapasa Anashakena. Yajna, Dana and Tapas. Swami Vivekananda, talking about the ideals of India, he said, renunciation and service are the twin ideals of India. Intensify them in these two channels, and the rest will take care of itself. Renunciation is yajna, sacrifice. Service is dana, giving up, charity. And intensification is tapasya. Yajna dana tapakkarma pavanani manishinam. Yajna, dana and tapas, they are pavanani. They are extraordinarily purifying. They elevate the soul. So the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal Dharma, the ancient Dharma, but ever renewed, to use Shankara's phrase, Pura api nava iti Purana. In the Bhagavad Gita, Shankara Bhashya, he says, Ajo nitya shashvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Commenting on this verse, Bhagavan Shankara says, Purana means Pura api nava iti Purana. Although he is eternal, every day, every night, you never feel that they are old. They seem so fresh, so elevating, so purifying. The Sanatana Dharma can never be annihilated or destroyed because it is based on the eternal truths of the Atman. This Atman, which is the innermost self of all, ever awakened, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta, favorite phrase of Bhagavan Shankara, is the self of all, the same Atman present in every being in the same way. Samam Pashyan Sarvatra Samavasthitam Ishwaram. The Bhagavad Gita, Samam Sarveshu Bhuteshu. Same Atman is present in all beings exactly in the same way. And a person who realizes the Atman within himself sees all beings in himself and himself in all beings. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sacha me na pranashyati sarvabhuta sthitam yo mam bhajatyekatvam asthitah sarvatha vartamanopi sayogi mayi vartate atmopamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo matah. The Bhagavad Gita. He is the supreme yogi, he is the supreme man of realization, the Jnani, who sees the same Atman present everywhere. The Bhagavan says, he who sees me in all beings and all beings in me, and Sarvabhuta Sthitam Yomam Bhajati Ekatvam Asthitaha, taking hold of Ekatva, oneness, non-duality. When Shankara established the Advaita as a supreme philosophy, he did not, as many people wrongly conceive, reject or eliminate any other form of worship. Advaita Vedanta includes and subsumes all other forms of worship. And therefore, there is no antagonism between Advaita and any other philosophy or mode of worship. Other forms can conflict with each other, but not Advaita. Parasparam viruddhyante ayam na viruddhyate. The Mandukya Karika says, there's a conflict between all the dualistic schools, but the Advaita has no conflict with anybody because it is based on Ekatva. Ekatva Vigya. You see the same Lord present in all beings. Sarvabhuta sthitam yomam bhajati ekatvam astitaha. He is a supreme yogi. And if you see the same Lord present in all beings, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam Yatkancha Jagatyam Jagat, the entire universe, the living and non-living beings should be enveloped and covered by God, then what do? Reverentially worship everything, and you serve all beings as veritable embodiments of the same divine. Swami Vivekananda talked about this. Shiva Jnane Jiva Sheva. Sri Ramakrishna, his divine guru, gave this mantra to the Ramakrishna Order. Jiva Seva, you worship all the beings. How? Shiva Jnane, knowing them to be veritable embodiments of Shiva, the Supreme Being. Remember, Shankara did not teach a transcendent. Shankara was not interested in emphasizing Maya at all. Unfortunately, when Shankara Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta was attacked by the later schools of philosophy like Visishta Advaita, Advaita, and so on, Ajnana became very prominent, Maya became prominent, and Brahman itself. Treatises after treatises, books after books came to be written of the nature of Ajnana, Mithyatva, Advaita Siddhi. The last word perhaps on Advaita Vedanta, refuting all the other arguments against Advaita, the Madhusudana Saraswati's magnum opus. Mithyatva Lakshana and Mithyatva of Mithyatva, they went on and on. Shankara was just not interested in Mithyatva, Jagan Mithyatva, or Ajnana or Maya. He was interested in establishing the supremacy of Brahman and inspiring, awakening the consciousness of all the humanity to realize that they are the essence of Brahman. I am the supreme reality, Brahman. Atma Brahma Aikya Jnana was what he called Jnana. The Aikya, the oneness of the individual self with the supreme reality. I am that supreme reality. Swami Vivekananda later revived this idea and said, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or philosophy or psychic control, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines or dogmas or rituals or temples or forms or books are but secret. Shankara was least interested in discussing this world, the nature of the world, and this world, according to him, was saturated with Brahman. In one of the Prakarana Granthas, he says, Adishankara, Drishtim Jnanamayim Kritva Vashed Brahmamayam Jagat. This Jagat is not Mithya. It is the very essence of Brahman when you get the Jnanamayi Drishti. When your vision becomes Jnanamayi, when your vision is tinged with the supreme knowledge of the reality, a oneness of the individual and the cosmic, Atman and Brahman, then you will see the entire world will be permeated by God. Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam Pashed Brahmamayam Jagat. To combat the opponents, Maya and Ajnana, the lokas of Ajnana, the nature of Ajnana. Ajnana became, as it were, more powerful than Brahman itself. Supremely compassionate Shankara. Shankaram Loka Shankaram. Sham Karoti iti Shankara. He is the embodiment of auspiciousness. He does good to everybody. Taking his name is a blessing. Thinking of him is a blessing. And he has nothing but goodwill for everybody. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Vivek Chudamani says a beautiful verse. Shanta, Shanta, Mahanta, Nivasanti Santaha. The welfare of the whole world. Like a gentle breeze that flows. Swami Vivekananda had a beautiful imagery. Like the gentle dew that falls unseen and unheard, and yet brings into blossom the fairest of roses, has been the contribution of Indian thought on the thought of the world. The Bharatvarsha, by giving this the nectar, Advaita Amrita Rasa, the whole world has been blessed. In his original bhashyas bear testimony to this. See, all of us should read Shankara's commentaries in their original. Very good translations are available in almost all the languages of India and English. Then you will know what compassion he had. Uttishtata jagrata prapya varan nibodhata kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam patastat kavayo vadanti. The famous passage in the Kathopanishad, the mantra. Commenting on that, Shankara says, the Vedas are teaching about this. Don't be sleeping in this anadi avidya maya. Uttishtata, arise, awake, and realize the truth by approaching men of realization, men of illumination. Yad vedena upadishtam, the upekshitavyam iti shrutir anukampaya aha matruvat. What a touching statement. The Shruti, the Upanishad is telling you, don't neglect this teaching of mine. How is it teaching? Matruvat, like a kind, compassionate mother. The Upanishad is telling you this great truth. I am telling you. Shruti comes and tells us in our ears, in our hearts, in our souls. The upekshitavyam, don't neglect this teaching. Take it to heart. Take it seriously. Practice it. Uttishtata jagrata iti anukampayaha. With great compassion, great love and affection, the Shruti is telling you how matruvat, like a mother paihi adaraniyam mitartaha. Shanta darpa, your egoism, your pride should be quelled and crushed. Become calm. Calmness is extremely important. Tranquility, calmness. Henam upaiti shantarajasam. Become calm, tranquil, peaceful. Darpa should be pounded and mind should become calm. Shantadarpaihi adaraniyam. They should practice this. How? Matrapitra sahasrebhyo paramahitaishana vedena yadupadishtam. This Shruti, fathers and mothers, parents. If you this kind of a line, who can write except the compassionate Shankara? He is pleading with you, as it were, please, please do not neglect this teaching. You are suffering so much in this world. Uttishtata, Jagrata. Aha. How much is your suffering? Adi Bhautika, Adi Devika, Adhyatmika Dukkha. Every moment you are immersed in sorrow. Come out of this. You are that infinite self. You don't have to search anywhere else. You are that infinite self. Tat Tvam Asi. That is the Upadesha Vakya, the Mahavakya, the Upanishad. And the Sadguru giving this Upadesha to a disciple who is also illumined, awakened, extraordinary adhikari, eligible aspirant, immediately higher awakening takes place in him and he rejoices to say, yes, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that supreme Brahman. This is the teaching of such a simple teaching of the Advaita Vedanta. It is the simplest. We complicate Advaita with too much of polemical arguments and Jahal Lakshana, Jahada Jahal Lakshana, Bhaga Lakshana. If you read books like Vedanta Sara, Tattvamasi is simple enough. You bring in all kinds of logic and nyaya to find the meaning of this. It's just simple. You are that infinite self. And why am I suffering then? Because you have forgotten it. So Shankara is very, very clear that you don't have to do anything new. Don't try to acquire knowledge. Don't try to strive to get knowledge, because you are a Jnana Swarupa. You are the veritable embodiment of Satchidananda. You are the embodiment of existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. And you don't have to acquire something from somewhere. Shankara's famous phrase in the Bhashyas, Heyam Ananda Swarupa, Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. In the Gita Bhashya, in the very last chapter, he says, Tasmat Jnanaya Yatna Na Kartavyaha Ajnana Nivaranaya Eva. Therefore, don't make any effort to acquire knowledge. All your effort should be to remove the ajnana, the covering of ajnana, ignorance over jnana. Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha jnanena tu tadajnanam yesham nashitam atmanaha tesham adityavajnanam prakashayati tatparam. The Bhagavad Gita. Jnana is covered by jnana. Strive to remove ajnana. All the sadhanas are prescribed. Shama, Dama, Uparati. Shamadamadi Samskritam, by whom? Shastra Acharya Upadesha. Shamadamadi Samskrita. Manayeva Atmadarshane Karanam. The Gita Bhashya, he writes that manas. Yato vacho nivartante aprapeha nanasti kinchana. It can be realized by the mind alone. Manasevanudrashtavyam. Only through the mind that has to be seen and realized. Is there a contradiction? Kathopanishad says, Manase Vedam Aptavyam. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Manasevanudrashtavyam. Are these passages contradictory? No. What kind of mind cannot reach there? The impure mind. The pure mind will reach there. How to purify the mind? Shankara gives a formula. Shastra Acharya Upadesha Shomadamadi Samskrita Mana. The mind which has been purified, cleansed by the teachings of the scriptures and the teachers, illumined teachers, purified and extremely subtle, sharp. That kind of mind, that kind of buddhi alone can intuit the Atman. Kathopanishad, Esha sarveshu bhuteshu gumana prakashate. This Atman is not seen, does not get revealed. Why? Sarveshu bhuteshu, in all beings, Gudho is hidden in Maya, in ignorance. How can you see it then? How can you realize it? Drishyate tu agriya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshabhi. Drishyate tu agriya buddhya. By sharp, purified understanding and buddhi, it can be seen. It can be realized. So the pure mind can see the Atman. When we say manasaivanudrashtavyam, manasaivedamaptavyam, it is the pure mind which is mentioned. As Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, pure mind, pure buddhi and the pure Atman are one and the same. Shuddha man, Shuddha buddhi and Shuddha Atma are one and the same. So what is the Shuddha man and Ashuddha man? But Brahma Bindu Upanishad says, Manohid vividham proktam ashuddham shuddham evacha evatu. Mind is of two types, ashuddha and shuddha. Ashuddham kama sankalpam, shuddham tu kama varjitam. Ashuddham kama sankalpam. Ashuddha manas, impure mind, is covered by kamana. Shuddha manas, pure mind, is kama varjita, devoid of kamana. The moment you give up all the various desires which are now crowding the heart, when they are completely destroyed, and the heart is cleansed of all desires, Atha, then this now here Sadhyo Mukti, quick Mukti he gets by completely eliminating and burning away all the desires of the heart. Burning away all the desires is just equivalent to renunciation of all karma. Shankara has been criticized by people who understand very little of Shankara by saying he was a person who was against karma. No, he was not at all. Who did work for himself? Mastering all the scriptures, the Vedas and Vedanta, and Smriti, Purana, etc. At the age of 16, he was just about to leave. He was granted 16 more years to preach, traveling tirelessly all over India, from Kanyakumari into the Himalayas, from the Maharaj, the Gujarat and Maharashtra on the one side, to Kamakhya on the other side, traveling. Of course, he traveled with the yogic power and establishing all the mutt's 4 places. What kind of relentless work, even now it is going on after 1200 long years. What was the spiritual power that he had? Remember the time of Shankara. What was the stupendous task that he had to face? Swami Atmapriyananda was our illustrious vice president of Ramakrishna Order, who was the president Adhyaksha of the Madras Mutt, who was my intellectual mentor for decades. He once, speaking about Shankara, he said, Shankara was the inheritor of 2 huge dilapidated castles. One of Buddhism, the other is Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa, the so much of animal sacrifice and so on, with kamana, with desire, kamya karma, do this yajna and go to that swarga. The entire land was filled by people who were craving to go to different higher realms of swargas by performing sacrifices and so on. Then the Buddha came, detested all these various animal sacrifices and so on, and rejected the entire Vedas who preached this kind of sacrifice. Your head, cut off the head, the headache will go. Throwing the baby with the bathtub, they say. He went to that extreme. Avaidika religion was being preached, and the most abominable practices were perpetrated by some of the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis in the name of Buddha. Most degenerate, vile Vamachara Tantra entered. Whole country became a hell. Shankara arose. What was his task? Think of the stupendity of the task. This young boy. Tears will come to you when you actually relive those days of Shankara. Hundreds of sects were in vogue, including the Kapalikas who believed in Naravali, the Tantras on the one hand, thanks to Buddhism, degenerate Buddhistic practices. And the Mimamsakas were waiting in their wings to come back to the Vedic religion. Shankara had to revive the Vedic religion, the religion of the Veda, the Sanatana Dharma. The moment he started doing, the Mimamsakas would up and jump in and say, which we wanted, come on, let us go back to the various yajnas and with we degenerate Buddhistic practices and revive the Vedic religion. So how did he do it? By reviving the Vedanta, the Upanishads. So go back to the Upanishads, exactly what Swami Vivekananda said in the present age. Go back to the Upanishads. He told the Mimamsakas, I am also preaching the Vedas. Vedas have two parts, the Karmakanda and the Jnanakanda. Jnana is a very important aspect of the Vedas. The Mimamsaka said, no, Jnanakanda is only eulogy, is only a way of saying it. Anarthakyam Anudarthanam. Anything else which does not give you any kriyartha is anartha. Yavad jivam agnihotram juhuyad. Till the end of your life, go on performing agnihotra. Yavad jivam shruti is there. Go on doing some karma. That is exactly the purpose of the Vedas. Anything which talks about Brahman or any statement which does not impel you to action is arthavada, eulogy, meaningless. Satyam jnanam anantam brahma. So what? Does it impel you to any action? No. So that cannot be considered truly the Veda. It is just arthavada. Shankara had to struggle hard to turn the entire arguments on its head. He said, this portion of the Veda which talks about your real nature, your Swarupa, that you are the infinite Ananda Swarupa, Jnana Swarupa, Sat Swarupa, that portion will elevate you. That should be revived and taught to people. Ordinary common people themselves will be revived through this. Athato Brahma Jigyasa, the famous Brahma Sutra begins with the sutra. Atha, henceforth, hereafter. After what? Big discussion. The usual argument, even Ramanuja takes this position. After finishing the practice of Karmakanda, anybody can practice Vedanta at any stage, with man, woman, children. Everybody has access to Vedanta because it's your own very self. In the Brahmasutra Bhasha, he says one inquiry is required. It's just your own self. He says, now, can this Vedanta, the Upanishad, the Advaita Vedanta be taught to people, the householders, the grihasthas, who may not have the sadhana chatushtaya, nitya nitya vastu viveka, discernment between the eternal and the non-eternal, the real and the unreal? Ihamutra phala bhoga viraga, vairagya, dispassion from the pleasures of this world and the next world. Shamadhi Shatsampatti, 6 great divine treasures. Shamadama Uparati, Titiksha Shraddha Samadhanam, control of the inner organs, control of the external organs, calmness, tranquility, forbearance, Titiksha, in the divine. And lastly, Mumukshutva, tremendous longing to attain the supreme truth, to get released from this bondage of the senses in the body and the mind. It is not possible for the householders, for the grihasthas, ordinary people, to possess all this. But Vedanta says this is the eligibility, adhikari. Then what about these people? Should they not be given Advaita Vedanta? Shankara boldly describes this and declares no, they also can be given. Why? Why not? After all, this Advaita Vedanta is as they keep on trying Advaita Vedanta. And it is your birthright. Shankara for the first time said it is your birthright because you are born free. You are the Nitya Shuddha Mukta Swarupa. We have been disillusioned and confused into thinking that we are small, we are limited. Swami Vivekananda was challenged in the West, in America. They came and said, Swami, you are hypnotizing us. We know we are small, we feel we are limited, and we experience that we are weak, we are afraid all the time. Fear, lust, anger. You are hypnotizing us. So Vedanta is a science of self-hypnosis. Swami Vivekananda tackled it so beautifully. He said, no, Veda, I am not trying to hypnotize you, I am trying to de-hypnotize you. You have hypnotized yourself into believing that you are small, you are little, you are ignorant, you are full of sorrow. You being the infinite self, the supreme being, Shraddhasva Tata Shraddhasva Atmatvam Prakrite Paraha. Ashtavakra Samhita, Ashtavakra, the great Muni teaches Janaka, oh Janaka, Tata, my child, affectionately he says, oh my child, my disciple, Shraddhasva, believe in this, believe in this. You are that Atman, you are that infinite self. You are beyond the clutches of Prakriti. So you have hypnotized yourself into believing that you are small, you are little, you are full of sorrow. Come on, come out of this. But through de-hypnotization. So Swami Vivekananda defined Advaita Vedanta as a science of de-hypnotization. The entire humanity will be united through the wonderful Amrita Rasa, the nectarine Advaita Vedanta. Because that one philosophy which will unite everybody. Swami Vivekananda prophesied that Vedanta will be the future religion of rational thinking humanity. He taught it, are 3 forms of the same reality. Sees the same self, Arjuna. He sees all beings his own self and his self in all beings, and therefore nahinasti atmanatmanam. He cannot harm anybody in Gitaartha Sangraha Bhutam. And Sridhar Swami goes one step further and says, Sarva Vedartha Sangraha Bhutam. Nirvairasa, from jealousy, infinite compassion and bliss is flowing through him to everybody. The first job of a little Shankara Tears will come to you when you hear this. I ask people, what was Shankara's first mission? When he began his spiritual mission in this world, after being manifested as his divine incarnation, the avatar of Shiva, what is the first job? Think of his life. His first job is removal of poverty. The great Advaita Vedantin, the great Jnani, for whom the world was mithya, with tears he prayed to Lakshmi. Kanagadhara Stotram, the famous Stotra. Little Shankara, the small kid, after Upanayana is going for Bhiksha. One woman comes out, so poor. She didn't have anything to give. Just looking at this lad, Surya Koti Prakasha, as if millions of suns are shining at once. Who is Surya Sahasrasya Bhaved Jugapaduttita, and the Vishwarupa Darshana says, simultaneously 1,000 suns are arising in the sky. That kind of tremendous divine illumination. He saw this lad and said with tears and with great trepidation, hesitancy, and cry, she put it in the bowl. Shankara said, "Oh, Mother Lakshmi, why are you keeping this woman in so much of poverty?" Angam Harehe Puragabhushanam. The most famous stotra which he wrote, the first stotra he composed. Remember that. The very first stotra, the divine message which he gave to humanity, was the how Advaita Vedanta can transform people. I imagine the future India in which psychotherapy will be performed and practiced through Advaita Vedanta, not the old Western method of psychology. There is one Emma Calvé, great celebrity in those days in France. She is an opera singer and an actress. As most celebrities are, she was extremely frustrated, depressed, almost to the point of killing herself. One of her friends told her, you go to Swami Vivekananda, a great illumined saint who is living in Paris, and seek his counsel. She came to Swamiji, calm down. When she sat down in his front, Swamiji looked straight into her eyes and spoke about certain secrets of hers which she had not shared with anybody. She became frightened, flabbergasted, and cried out, Swami, how could you know all this? Has anybody spoken to you about me? Swamiji smiled and said, is it necessary? I can read you like an open book. Don't brood over your secret sorrow. You are not that little entity, body-mind complex, encased in this body, constantly sorrowing and depressed. You are that infinite self, Nitya Mukta Ananda Swarupa, Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta Atman. Assert that Atman, think of it, dream of it, meditate upon it. Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Nididhyasitavyaha. Then the spiritual impulse of this great soul went straight into her heart, and she had the core of purity within her. And some awakening took place, and she was almost entering into samadhi. She cried out, what are you doing to me? I'm losing myself. Something is happening to me. My little ego is gone. Then Swamiji used to make fun of the Westerners. Swamiji said, you are not individual yet. You shall be when you are universal. Your individuality, my individuality is the infinite. Then he told a story with which we'll end this talk on Shankara's Advaita Vedanta. A water drop was falling into the ocean, and the drop was crying miserably. And the ocean asked, "What is the reason? Why are you crying?" "Oh, I am going to lose my individuality as a little drop." Because it'll be lost in the ocean. The ocean smiled and said, "My child, you are not losing your individuality as a drop. You are regaining your individuality as the ocean. You were me, one with me, and the rays of the sun took you far away in the clouds. And now you are coming back to me. Come, come, my child, and join the billions and trillions of drops like you who form the our soul. Matrapitra sahasrebhyo paramahideshana vedena irupurishtam." Like a kind mother, more compassionate, but thousands of parents, fathers and mothers. The Sringeri is a great pita which he has built up. And Advaita Vedanta is flowing, the Advaita Amrita is still flowing through that. And all of us are blessed that we come in the line of Shankara. And we are able to study his words and be blessed by him. And may he bless us all and elevate us so that we may realize our true nature, which is the infinite self within. We may be blessed with the Atma Brahma Aikya Jnana, the knowledge of oneness of the individual self with the Supreme Self, Atman and Brahman, and Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Let us pour our hearts in compassion and prayer to all the beings. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Level of maturity or knowledge to talk about what Swamiji's address. So some people might, some people generally when they talk about the speech, they use the speech, but we do not have the required knowledge or maturity to talk about everything. We just are very thankful that we were able to come to this august occasion today, and it was Kanakadhara, but in terms of knowledge, Jnanadhara was poured upon us, and our minds being sponges absorbed all the all the jnana in the form of liquid. I hope it went in. So thank you so much for dedicating time for us. If we have a few minutes, I think, can we take up a few questions, Krishnan sir?
Yeah, Swamiji, with your kind permission, now.
We can see. I don't want to spoil the spell of this. Let us be in the calm mood of Advaita Manana, and just don't spoil it with questions. Just let us do Manana Nididhyasana rather than Prashna. Thank you so much.
Namaste, Swamiji. Swamiji சொன்னதை பார்த்தோம்னா அந்த பெண்மணி விவேகானந்தரை பார்த்த உடனே என்ன ஒரு எண்ணம் கிடைச்சதோ அந்த எண்ணம் தான் எங்களுக்கு கிடைச்சது. அவர் கண்களை மட்டும் பார்த்தார். பார்த்ததுல அவங்களுக்கு என்ன பண்றதுன்னே தெரியல. எப்படி அவரை உள்ளதெல்லாம் கண்டுபிடிச்சார், எப்படி பேசுறார். சமாதி நிலைக்கு போயிட்டாங்களா அந்த பெண்மணி. தன்னுடைய பழைய எல்லாவற்றையும் மறந்து, துக்கங்களை மறந்து, சோகங்களை மறந்து, புரிதல் ஏற்பட்டு, தன்னை பத்தி ஒரு செல்ஃப் ரியலைசேஷன் எப்படி சுவாமிஜி முன்னாடி அந்த நிலைமை இன்னைக்கு எங்க எல்லாருக்கும் ஏற்பட்டிருக்கு. உங்க ஸ்பீச் கேட்டவங்க சுஸ்ரூட் சொன்ன மாதிரி கனகதாரா இல்ல, அது ஞானதாரா. நிறைய மனசுக்குள்ள அப்படியே போயிருக்கு. அந்த விவேகானந்தருடைய ஒவ்வொரு கோட்டா இருக்கட்டும், ஆதிசங்கரரை இன்னும் ஒரு டிஃபரெண்ட் ஸ்டேட்ல நீங்க கொண்டு போனது ரொம்ப டிஃபரெண்ட். யூஸ்வல் எல்லாமே இருந்தால் கூட இந்த இதுவரை கேட்காத ஒண்ணு என்னன்னா, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்தோத்திரமே எராடிகேஷன் ஆஃப் பாவர்ட்டி கனகதாரா. அது ஒரு எக்ஸலண்ட் தாட் அது. ஏன்னா நம்ம ஆதிசங்கர ஸ்தோத்திரம் எல்லாத்தையும் சொல்றோம், ஆனா 5 வயசுலயே அவருக்கு ஹவு டு சேஞ்ச் த வேர்ல்டு முதல்ல வந்து பீப்புளோட பாவர்ட்டி போகணும். அதைத்தான் விவேகானந்தர் கையில் எடுத்து பேசிகிட்டே இருந்தார் எப்போ பார்த்தாலும். அப்போ ஆதிசங்கரா ஹேஸ் கிவன் த தாட்ங்கிறது இன்னைக்கு சுவாமிஜி சொன்னது வந்து மனசுல ரொம்ப நல்லா பதிஞ்சுது. அந்த கனகதார அர்த்தமா இருக்கட்டும், அவர் வந்து அப்படி ஒரு கொடி சூரிய பிரகாசனா இருக்கும்போது நம்மள்ட்ட ஒன்றும் கொடுக்க முடியலையேன்னு அந்த பெண்மணி வந்து மனம் கலங்கி அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு நெல்லிக்காயை கொண்டு கொடுத்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் அந்த கனகதார அண்ட் அந்த ஒன்று ஆரம்பிச்சாலே போகிறோம். யூ கேன் டாக் அபவுட் ஆதிசங்கரா அண்ட் யூ கேன் கோ த்ரூ ஆதிசங்கராஸ் செஷன்ஸ். அந்த மாதிரி ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்தது. அதே மாதிரி அந்த 3 விதமான இதுவும் சொன்னீங்க. அதாவது பாவர்ட்டி வந்து மெட்டீரியல் ஒன்று, தென் இன்டலெக்சுவல், தென் ஸ்பிரிச்சுவல். இந்த 3லயும் விடுதலை வேணும். எப்படி பாரதி வந்து சுதந்திர தினம் போது சுதந்திர போராட்டம், ஏன்னா இப்போ வந்து அமிர்த மகோத்சவம், பெண் விடுதலை, மண் விடுதலை, பொருளாதார விடுதலை. ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி எல்லாத்துலேயும் ஃப்ரீடம் வேணும் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கும் ஆதிசங்கரர் தான் ஆரம்பத்தில் இருந்திருக்காருங்கிறத, அதுவும் 20 நூற்றாண்டுகளுக்கு முன்னாடி 8th செஞ்சுரியிலேயே அந்த காலகட்டங்களில் அப்படி பண்ணியிருக்காரு சொல்லி, யஜ்யம் தானம் பற்றி முக்கியமாக சொல்லி, ஃபைனலி யூ செட் ஆல் ஷுட் லிவ் வித் ஃப்ரெட்டர்னிட்டி அண்ட் ஹியூமனிட்டி. தட் இஸ் த ரியல் ப்ரீச்சிங் ஆஃப் ஆதிசங்கரா தட் வாஸ் டோல்ட் பை விவேகானந்தா டு த என்டையர் வேர்ல்டு. அதனால இன்னைக்கு சொன்ன மாதிரி எனக்கு தெரியாது கொஸ்டின் ஆன்சர் அவர் அலோவ் பண்ண போறாரா எங்க மேனேஜிங் ட்ரஸ்டின்னு நீங்க சொன்னதை வச்சு. ஆனா அந்த ஒரு வேர்டு மட்டும் நான் இன்னமும் திரும்ப சொல்றேன். How that lady felt before Vivekananda, we all felt that great.
Because Swamiji feels that let us all immerse ourselves into the bliss of the Atman. Let us, we would like to conclude the session with national anthem, Guru Prasad and Vinay. National anthem.
I request everyone to rise for the national anthem. நீங்க பாடுறீங்களா?
Okay. लेक्चर तब से चल रहा है.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा जय जलधि तरंगा, तपसुपना
क्योंकि ये बना है पीनट्स के ऊपर, चॉकलेट के ऊपर, कैरमल से ही, कैडबरी फ्यूज भारी है.
जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय 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 जय